Greetings, everyone, and welcome. October the 9th, 2025. For months, people have been wondering what truly is Putin's long game. Does he really want all of Ukraine? Does he want to rebuild the USSR? Does he want to come into European nations? Today, the United States has confirmed, and Zelenskyy has confirmed, that Putin as of now, has no desire for negotiations. All he wants is war. This is why you're seeing the thumbnail correct. I can't stop what I started. And this is coming from a pretty important source today out of the United States at a conference in Europe. Zelenskyy as well, speaking with his typical weekly roundtable with journalists there in Ukraine, sitting around a table where he really lays out truth. Long video. I've pulled the excerpts for you so that you can hear what and see what Zelenskyy has said. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, liking, commenting. We appreciate each and every one of you. Let's jump straight to it. We're going to start with Matthew Whitaker. This happened today at the Riga Conference 2025. I can show you the website here. This is a conference that happens the 9th through 11th of October. It happens there in Latvia, the House of Science, international platform, international speakers about foreign policy, about the state of Europe, about the state of Ukraine, the war. And Matthew Whitaker is the United States ambassador to NATO. He was appointed by Donald Trump, and you will hear what he says in just a moment. The purpose of the conference is to address the foreign policy and security issues and develop meaningful long-term discussions among global leaders and decision makers. Let's jump straight into Matthew Whitaker here. This is one of the sources.
The United States, as the Admiral mentioned, I mean, we have capabilities that are currently not being deployed on the battlefield in Ukraine that are fearsome, that are powerful, and that can quite literally do serious damage at a place and time of our choosing. And that some of those are going to continue to be potentially moved to Ukraine for their use, and that's that could change the calculation. But obviously we haven't reached the point where Vladimir Putin has decided that the time is appropriate to negotiate. And I don't know. I mean, the problem that Vladimir Putin finds himself in is that he cannot demonstrate weakness.
That's it in a nutshell. This is what Zelenskyy has been saying. This is what those that follow the war in Ukraine closely every day, like myself and others, have been saying. If you have any knowledge of Russia and Vladimir Putin at all, he can't show weakness. He doesn't want to stop. He can't stop. The Russian economy is on a war-driven economy. And so when you hear the talk now of the ambassador to NATO from the United States saying, these weapons will change things. The calculations will change. But let's make no mistake about it, he said, Putin has no desire to come to the negotiating table. None. He wants war. Now, President Vladimir Zelenskyy as well confirming that today. In his roundtable, he also put out a tweet. He said the head of Russia, he didn't even say Putin, guys. Pay attention. The head of Russia is personally afraid of a ceasefire, because once a ceasefire is in place, returning to the war would be difficult for him. To move from full-scale war to a ceasefire and then restart a full-scale war, that's not easy for them, Russia. It's not easy economically. War economy. It's not easy with society. Correct. He's rallying people right now, and it's not easy with the world, and certainly not easy with those countries that are still shaking Putin's hands today. That's why for now he chooses war. So this statement right here from Zelenskyy confirming what Matthew Whitaker said, this all happening on the same day. Will Putin hear this stuff? Will Russia? They've already heard it, and they're already responding. Zelenskyy went on to say Russia will not take eastern Ukraine. Period. He confirmed that Pokrovsk and Dobropilya are the toughest areas of the front. Russia has lost 12,000 and 7,000 are 200, meaning that 7,000 have been killed, 5,000 wounded. He talked about drones. He said, our troops are adequately supplied. There is a shortage of drones. FPV drones, first person view drones, we're 1-to-1 with the Russians, but their advantage is with fiber optic drones. And says, we are increasing our capability in this. And unfortunately, guys, that's a problem because the fiber optics, as I showed on a video a couple of days ago, what it looks like, a bird's eye view from a drone strike. I showed you how the Russian fiber optic works and honestly how good it is. Ukraine has the same technology, just as the problem is they do not have as much. He says there are successful strikes on the Russian territory, and they will continue. Of course, that's on the energy infrastructure. And Zelenskyy confirming today that our Neptune and Flamingo pair was used in combination. I confirmed this. So the Neptune is the modified missile that Ukraine has retrofitted and changed for strikes. And then the Flamingo is their new missile. And he confirms we have used those guys in tandem. He says after Ukrainian strikes, the enemy gasoline shortage up 20%. Russia increased imports from Belarus 6 times, China, and they have removed import duties. So, of course, Belarus, it's one state there with Russia right now, but China confirmed to be supplying Russia, and there is a removal of the duties. He says there's also a ban on gasoline exports out of Russia and restrictions on diesel exports. Guys, these are the reality, the real facts for what's happening inside Russia. He went on then to throw a fair threat. He says if Russia causes blackouts, which is very possible, he says then Kursk and Belgorod will be blacked out. And of course, those are the 2 regions there above Kharkiv and Sumy. He said there is a high risk right now that Putin really wants to move to a world war. That is why we're seeing him do the things he's doing, have the meetings that he's having. He's in Tajikistan right now. Important strengthening of Ukraine with all possible means. One of these is tomahawks, back to a reference of what Whitaker said there. They're saying the same thing today. This can make the Russians sober up and sit at the negotiating table. Absolutely the same message that Whitaker is saying. Now, Ukrainian perspective, a couple of polls here I want to share with you as we close out this update. I want to look really at the far right last 4 columns. You see, and the blue, 51, 50, 52, 54. So the blue here represents under no circumstances should Ukraine give up any territories, even if this means the war will last longer and there will be threats to the preservation of its independence. So that had dipped. Of course, early in the war, when the war began, it's extremely high, and then it starts coming down as the war prolongs. And we kind of bottomed out there in February of March 25 when things were looking, hopeless with any assistance coming from the United States, but now trending back up 52, 54%, 8 not wanting to say, 38% in the orange saying we want to achieve peace as soon as possible and preserve independence, but we're willing to talk about territory. So we see those that are hardline, no territory seceded, is trending back up now. And of course, that's in conjunction with America supplying again and the potential for even more. Now, last couple of things I want to share with you, and this is very interesting. Harvard CAPS poll. I'll come here to the web. This is the Harvard CAPS Harris poll, is a monthly poll released by Harvard Center for American Political Studies, the Harris poll, and Harris X. What is interesting here is what I and many others have been saying. There is much more support, and this is going to be from American perspective, guys, much more support for Ukraine across all party lines. Take everything out of your mind right now. I think this is very accurate. I speak to so many conservatives. I speak to so many Democrats or more liberal. People support Ukraine in America by large majority. So here's the poll that just came out. Do you support or oppose additional economic sanctions on Russia to try to force it to end the war? 77% support, 23% oppose, and you can see Democrats, GOP, and independents. It's 71, 86, and 72%. This is a Harvard poll, guys. Secondly, do you think that the governments that buy oil and gas from Russia should be punished with tariffs, or should they not be punished for buying that oil? 57% now say they should be punished, 43% not punished. And once again, it's all parties, Democrat, Republican, and independent. Now, we'll go to the last one. Do you think Europe should stop buying oil from Russia and buy it from the United States instead if it were practical? Now, of course, 79% overwhelming yes, 21% no. That's a no-brainer there. And the final one, this is very interesting. Should the Trump administration continue to provide weaponry to Ukraine and impose further economic sanctions on Russia if it refuses to negotiate and prolongs the bloodshed, or should it not do so for fear of antagonizing Russia? 68% here are saying yes, continue to provide weaponry. 32% no. So that negative number there actually creeps up to the largest is on the weapons, but still 68% yes. And that is 72% Democrats, 73% Republicans, and 60% independents are for this, wanting to stand with Ukraine. So today, USA, as we said earlier, confirming that Putin has no intention of stopping. There are many reasons for that, and Zelenskyy himself confirming it as well. There is a lot unfolding right now, and we will keep you posted. Be blessed.